The Americans with Disabilities Act was the result of multi-decade efforts by disability rights activists to ensure that those with disabilities received the same civil rights as their fellow Americans and were not discriminated against due to their disabilities. With the passage of Section 504 of the Rehabilitation Act of 1973, discrimination of disabled by institutions or organizations that receive federal funding was now illegal under federal law. This mobilized disability rights activists to fight for regulations enforcing the new law. Regulations were eventually implemented, but much of the 1980s saw disability rights activists fighting to combat Supreme Court rulings that struck down or ignored the regulations by educating the Supreme Court in future cases or overturning the rulings of legislation. They would ultimately achieve victory in cases like Consolidated Rail Corporation versus Jerome and School Board of Nassau County versus Arline. In 1988, United States Senator Weicker and Representative Coelho would introduce legislation that served as the first version of the bill that would become the Americans with Disabilities Act. 2 years later, after disability rights activists campaigned across the country, congressional hearings were held, and a presidential candidate even endorsed the bill. The Americans with Disabilities Act was signed into law in July of 1990 by President Bush, making discrimination against disabled in public life illegal. Further regulations and legislation will be implemented to strengthen the act in 1991, 2008, 2009, and 2011.